How's everyone doing? It's Indiana here with Emptor Audio. Well, today we're taking a look at the Douk Audio X1. This is going to be kind of a sort of unique here tube integrated amplifier. It's definitely got some, unique features to it you don't really see on a lot of stuff. They kind of jam a lot of stuff into this unit here. It does have a phono preamp, which is pretty cool for MM or moving magnet, of course. On the back here, if we go to the back, you notice how it's kind of like almost like two units kind of stacked on top of each other here. Well, you've got up here is your phono pre-stage and analog input right here. Also a Bluetooth input, because what integrated amplifier doesn't have Bluetooth anymore these days? And of course, it's becoming super, super common. On the bottom here, we have our speaker outputs and a nice sub out, which is awesome to see. Also, here is your power input there. So this thing can be used for a couple different things. If you just want to run maybe a turntable, this will do it just fine. You want to run like your desktop audio off this, you can of course do that just fine as long as you have another DAC ready to go. Or you can kind of run like a small little two-channel system, maybe like a phono preamp, maybe Bluetooth to your phone. You've got a number of little options here you can do with this little unit, which is pretty nice. Now on the front here, we've got a lot going on. We've got a couple of little switches here. Of course, the input switch, I love to see that. That makes it super, super easy there. We do have this is going to be your bass control, either flat or boost, which is interesting. But we do have tone controls up here on the top, so I don't really like to mess with that and then also mess with the tone controls. I just try not to, whatever the most neutral setting is, then I'll mess with the volume or the tone controls up here a little bit then. We do, of course, have options for changing your tube lights between orange or blue, which is kind of a little cool feature there. I turn it mostly to blue because I think it looks kind of just more like a subtle, relaxing blue there. Of course, up on top here, this is where we have our two tubes, your volume knob up top, which the volume knob being here is kind of weird in my opinion, because you'd expect it to be somewhere like right here up on the front, but it's not. It's gonna be the largest knob right in the center. And I will say you can accidentally bump, these knobs when you're reaching up here to grab the volume knob. You do kind of bump these once in a while on accident. But my biggest complaint is actually with the power switch here. I wish this was a little bit bigger. You see that ring around here? Right now it is on. If you turn it off, that'll be kind of just extending above that ring there. So you can at times kind of hit it. That's not on right there when it clicks, then it turns on. So you can kind of reaching around to turn it on there. You might not get it on the first attempt. You might click it and might not click in. And I've done that a couple of times now where I kind of click it, it doesn't stay in, and it kind of pops right back out. So that's my one kind of complaint about this. It's not a big deal, but just something small there. But this is a kind of interesting unit, really. From listening to it, I think it sounds pretty good. It's definitely one of those units that kind of reminds me of when I first started getting the tubes, maybe about 7, 8 years ago. It does have some nice warmth to it. It's not one of those, amplifiers that you see that are just going to have tubes in the top, and you're kind of like, well, it just sounds like a regular amplifier. But no, this one actually has some tube warmth to it. It's not going to sound like $1,000 plus Macintosh you might find with, tubes galore. But this thing does have a good amount of warmth to it, which is really nice there. I did not get a chance to listen to the phono pre-stage, but for 150 bucks, that's not a bad deal for the phono pre-stage. It's moving magnet only, of course, so if you got moving cartridge, that might not be the best option for you. But I will say they claim 160 by 160 or 320 watts total with whatever the max voltage is here. They're claiming 19 to 35 volts DC input. Will it do 180 watts per channel output? I'm sure it will, but realistically, you're probably looking at about half that. I will say the volume knob is quite sensitive. It steps up pretty quick. So, I mean, you can see where the volume knob is on my unit here. That's going to be quiet. And then when you want to get to loud, it's going to be like right there. So it does jump up pretty quick. So it's not like you got a ton of play in the volume knob, ton of, ramp up there. It's going to be a pretty quick step up in that volume knob. Other than that, though, it's actually got a decent amount of weight. It doesn't feel cheap or, overly light. I've tested a few units in the past that I've been like, wow, this thing is way too light. This thing actually has some nice heft to it. I don't know about your opinion on the kind of the bronze and the gold on there. That's kind of it's not really my thing exactly. I'd rather see this kind of either like all black or maybe silver, something to kind of go along with the orange. Maybe they did all one color. I'd be a little more fan of that in my opinion, but again, not a big deal. It's just kind of cosmetic things. Everyone's got a different taste there, of course. But overall, listening, I think it sounded pretty good. I really didn't see anything. Of course, because we have tone controls, so when you add tone controls into something like this, you can definitely tweak it just to your liking very nicely. Whenever I see an amp that doesn't have tone controls, I'm kind of thinking to myself, oh no, what if this thing doesn't sound, there's not enough bass, the treble might be a little bit too low. You always have those issues with things that don't have tone controls, but the tone controls on here work pretty nicely. I have mine set to just by 12 o'clock on both, and I think it sounded very neutral at that point. And of course, I can make adjustments from there. So overall, I think it's a great choice if you like tubes. I will say that. It's not, don't expect this to be a nice solid or solid state amplifier. This is definitely going to be more for, if you want to have tubes, you want to change these tubes out, kind of have fun with the tubes. It's going to be a great little unit for doing that. It's on Amazon right now. I'm looking at the screen here for about 150 bucks. There's also a 5% off coupon, which gives you like another $7 or so. You're looking at around 150-ish dollars total here, with tax from Amazon, which is not a bad price at all. For a little two-channel amp like this, especially with tubes in it. You want to upgrade the tubes, spend an extra another 50, 60 bucks, take around the $200. So would I say this is a great amp for just like, desktop audio use? Sure, but I think you're really going to see the most bang for your buck if you're using this in conjunction with a turntable, just because of that built-in feature there, giving that extra little bit of, value for your money there. So that's kind of my thoughts, my initial review on this Douk Audio X1. Definitely a kind of a wilder, more out there kind of unit here. You don't really see all these little controls on these units all the time. We got a tube preamp stage here, built-in turntable with moving magnet. It's just kind of a lot of stuff in this little unit here, and the price point is pretty good for the usual chi-fi stuff you see on Amazon. So I definitely got to say, I'd probably give it a solid like 7 out of 10 for what it is. Cosmetically, it might not be your style. It might be. It's not really my style personally, but again, that's just opinion there. But so, guys, thanks for watching. Take care and have a great day.